Welcome to PR Talk, sponsored by the PRSA of Oregon and part of the MPN, the Marketing Podcast Network. This is your host, Amy Rosenberg, founder of Barre3 and author of A Modern Guide to Public Relations. Help other people find our podcast by subscribing, rating, giving us a review, or sharing on social media. Hi, everybody. I have Sadie Lincoln here. Hi, Sadie.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us. Just so everybody knows, I think a lot of people might know Sadie already, but she's the co-founder and CEO of Barre3. And just to kind of tell everyone what Barre is, it's a type of strength and conditioning exercise. But Barre3 takes it a step further with mindfulness and body positivity. And I see that Barre3 has over 170 franchise studios and, of course, online workouts now. But first, Sadie, I just want to get into your story about how you created Barre3. And then I think in telling the story, we'll kind of come across the way you approached the marketing, which is really unique because you were the first in the industry to avoid body shaming in order to create sales. But anyway, first, just tell us about how you got into Barre and your whole story.
Sure. Well, thank you. And great job describing Barre3 because it is, we combine strength, cardio, and mindfulness. And the mindfulness part is what was missing for me in fitness. And I started my fitness career as a college student and teaching. Back then it was step aerobics at UCLA. Just kind of fell in love with it, and it led me on my fitness journey. And when in the early days, I think my primary motivation, to be totally honest and candid, was to look the part. I bought into this story that if I did fitness, I would shape my body into something that would be deemed worthy, sexy, attractive, achieving, winning. And as a high-performing young woman, I wanted nothing more. And fitness was my answer. And then I started to do fitness and I fell in love with it for other reasons. It made me feel so good, so connected. And, but I didn't really articulate that as a young woman. I just kept doing it for other reasons and ended up in a 10-year career at 24 Hour Fitness, helped grow that company from, I think, 25 gyms to over 430. Ended up on the executive team kind of as the only woman. I was teaching group exercise with them and silently struggling. Even though I was a prominent group exercise instructor and also on the leadership team, I was, for example, I was running our photo shoots, and I was responsible for our celebrity endorsements like Cindy Crawford, like Pamela Anderson, and other like prolific models who weren't actually fitness experts, but that's who we were positioning as you too, can look like this, right? If you do these things. That it's back then celebrity fitness was a big thing. Now it's like the everyday girl, but actually it's her like, with maybe a little Photoshop and a lot of lighting. And it's still around this body ideal that sells. So I was silently struggling because I felt like I didn't fit into that mold, and I started to fight with my body. And rather than exercise being something that was really generative and felt really good and empowering, it was a fight with my body towards the finish line. And it wasn't until I was pregnant and I realized, oh my gosh, it's cool when my body changes shape, and to honor my body in every moment is actually a real gift. And I can exercise in a way that affirms my body in that moment versus exercising to try to change it. Like when you're pregnant, you don't want your belly to be flat. Right?
Yeah.
You're accepting of a different shape. And that was such a light bulb moment for me, and kind of seeded the idea for Barre3, which eventually my husband and I broke out and started Barre3 because we wanted to have a really efficient, effective, good beat driven, challenging workout that was body positive, that allowed clients and invited clients to come into the room and make that workout what they needed in that very moment for their body in that very moment versus trying to work out to look like someone else or themselves in the future. So long-winded answer, but that really is what brought me to Barre3.
I love it. And then I did see you speak once where you were talking about, so, I mean, it was just a really good example that I can kind of envision in my head. You were saying in the past, they used to show the before and after photos, right? And they still do. It's kind of irritating. I mean, oftentimes I take my daughter to a restaurant and sometimes the TV is on, which is odd, with the volume down low. And I look up and you see those liposuction ads. And I just can't, like, I don't need my daughter to see that, number one. And first of all, let me just say this. I have a daughter, so I just have to say it. I love having Barre3 online or, streaming because you show different body shapes and different women. And it just feels very good and right to me as a mother to just have that, like, not even pointed out, but just normalizing that in that way. But you started that, like, I just want to say that. And so, and you started that and when it wasn't cool to do that. And so I guess just talk about, because you were, I'm just going to ramble. I saw you at St. Mary's at this luncheon like a couple of years ago, and you were talking about the before and after pictures, and you were saying, what was wrong with the before? There was something wrong that the woman might not have been happy, but that has nothing to do with her body. And so I guess you could just like talk about that, but also what does that mean in like your communications and your storytelling?
The before and after is really interesting. So we were talking about mindfulness, and, a simple definition of mindfulness is paying attention on purpose to the present moment, to what, like this conversation we're having right now. This is my life right now. This is me. This is you. This is our life right now. Anything in the past that we look back on no longer exists, right? And anything in the future is truly our imagination. It also doesn't exist. And we have bought fitness based on the past, the before, and an imaginary picture of what the future is going to look like, which sets every single one of us up for disenchantment, feelings of shame, and failure. Because we'll never reach the after picture. We're always in the present moment. And when we exercise driven, so the before part is about motivation. And even to this day, I have to practice getting out of this mindset of, but if I don't beat my body up, how will I be motivated to work out? Like that's what's motivating me to work out is that I need to be better, right? So that's the motivation part. And then as the workout is going, and then we have a picture in the future of what we need to be that ideal, right? Which is imagined and in the future, so it'll never happen. So the past part, what we know, and this is from social science and behavioral scientists and people who have studied motivation and what actually works, is that when you're motivated from a place of compassion and presence, you get better results. You don't get the shame. So instead of beating myself up for what my body is right now and like trying to get to somewhere else, I can look at it as, hey, body, I'm going to figure out a workout that works out for you today in this very moment. And that meets you right where you are. And yeah, I'm going to push you. I'm going to push myself out of comfort because that's what my body needs. But I'm going to do it in a way that's honoring me, respectful of me. And that's not only just like aches and pains in the body, but it's also energy levels, like not trying to do a really, really hard workout if I'm super depleted, for example. But it's also about compassion. Like, yeah, I feel intimidated today. I've gained a lot of weight. I don't feel good in my exercise clothes. Like just being honest about that. And then crowding out that message with a message of love and compassion. Let's take a walk with the dogs, in my big baggy sweatpants today, So, and yeah, I'm going to go with my friends to that group exercise class that I'm intimidated about because they always make me laugh and it'll be a little, I won't feel so intimidated today. Like, I think when you come from compassion, you end up making choices for yourself that actually set yourself up for success versus shame.
So then how does that come across in the marketing? And kind of a double question. When you had to start marketing Barre3, did you worry about your sales? Because, okay, let me just kind of refocus, because motivating through negativity is what you're saying is not going to work. It just doesn't work with your ethos, first of all.
But it
Secondly,
sells.
it just
But it sells. But it sells.
Oh, okay. But it doesn't work for
So
the human being. It doesn't work
that's
for
right.
the okay.
So my sales process was exactly opposite of what I learned at 24 Hour Fitness. The to this day, it's a $3 billion industry, fitness. If you add wellness into it, it's a $1 trillion business. And it's still the dominant message is still around kind of shame and that like archetypal before and after type idea, right? So from a financial motivation, if you're just looking at the data, like why wouldn't I advertise that way, right? But what I decided was, wow, I bet I'm not alone here. I bet a lot of women, I mean, we know better. When you saw that ad up on the screen, even though it's selling liposuction, you're like, that's patronizing. I don't want my kid to see that. But I guess I need it, so I'm going to do it.
Oh,
but we know better. Like we're all sick of being talked to that way, demoralized that way, And so I just trusted my own core values versus the data. And my primary way to advertise in the very beginning was actually not to advertise, to just teach the class a lot and count on word of mouth. And then story tell. What brought you into this workout? What were you surprised about? Oh, I came in wanting a really hard ripped body, but I left with so much wisdom and connection, and I feel sexier than I ever have. But it had nothing to do with the hard body. But that's why I came in. And so starting to story tell those real expressions of humanity that was happening real time in my studios was really my first kind of methodology of advertising and positioning and messaging. And I did take some detours. There were moments when I got sucked into the drug of doing that. And I learned my lessons because by then all of our clients counted on me to not Photoshop, to not be overly made up in the ads, to not talk about results right out of the gates. And they checked me. My client base said, no, Sadie, we're here for a different reason. Please don't tell me that.
That's wonderful, actually, that they felt comfortable enough to do that.
Oh, totally. Yeah, absolutely. That's the nice thing of the digital era is you get real-time feedback right away. And our success, our 179 studios and subscribers in 98 countries, is because we're body positive. That's why we're successful.
Okay. So it sounds like, to bring mindfulness back, sounds like your marketing was being in the present, which is literally in the room with the women at first. So you weren't really thinking about marketing possibly. You were thinking about being there. And then that you were your authentic self there. And then that, in a sense, kind of builds either a better product, but for you, the product is the experience. And then from there, maybe then you have a minute to work on marketing, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And so then how long ago did you create Barre3?
14 years ago. 2008. Yeah. So in the early days, it really was about teaching a remarkable class, meaning so efficient and effective because people are coming in for a workout. They're not coming in, they're not going to buy this idea of body love. That's a hard sell. They're coming in for a good workout, but they're discovering the body love, right? And then they discover it and the connection that they felt in there, so much so that they went and told book club and all their friends, and then all their friends came in, right? So in the early days, and to this day, organic marketing is the top lead generator for us. But as we grew, obviously marketing became a thing. Okay, wait, now I need to do collateral. I need to figure out positioning and words and all these things. And we made a commitment through our core values to not Photoshop ever, to not ever say things like, do this class to get ready for bikini season, to get ready for the future. We are very specific in our language and positioning on as we market. But I will say, Amy, that why people come into the studio is different than why they stay. And so that's, as recent as a month ago, we did focus groups and we've learned that prospects they don't buy this whole, oh, we're part of this body positive movement thing. That sounds almost cult-like to them, right? I want an efficient, effective workout. Tell me this is going to work. Like, they still want to hear that, but we refuse to like say it in a way that's going to compromise, you know, what we think is best for future generations of young women. So it's a real dance to figure out the hook, and to back away from the drug, if you will, of going to the easy sell, which is a before and after and is the bikini season language. But I think that's a sign of a strong brand, is when you can uphold your core values, even if it takes a short-term financial hit.
Yeah. Well, and it's harder work in the beginning, but in the end, possibly it's less work because you have loyal customers.
That's right.
Because it's harder to get new customers. And so if you can keep your customers, then there you go. But
right.
You did mention organic marketing. And I just wonder, by that word organic, do you mean what you're talking about, where you're focusing on your customers and referrals, or do you mean kind of in the marketing speak, like organic search and earned media and that kind of thing?
Yeah, well, what I know is that most of our clients come to us because they've heard about us through other people, other experiences. They've maybe been driven by the studio, they've seen it. But when we do like direct marketing campaigns to kind of blank canvas people who don't have those touch points, haven't heard the authentic story, it's harder for us to grab them right out of the gates.
Because you're not following the rules. Let's just say, because you're not following the rules. Yeah.
That's totally our customer, though. We know her really well. We kind of call her the mindful mom, but we also have a younger customer. We have three personas that is our client over and over again. And they're all highly educated, very cynical. They don't, they want to kind of know, like, it's like the over the fence sales strategy, where it's like, hey, Bob, this barbecue is really great. Have you tried it? They kind of want to like have the storytelling, the authentic, like, sort of like what people are buzzing about. That's what attracts them to our brand versus a hard hitting direct response campaign.
So what it might also be is cynical could also mean that maybe they just don't trust right away, possibly.
That's right.
So there's so much here. I need to write all my questions down as you're talking. It's hard for me right now I kind of have long COVID. And that's the other thing. Like, how do you approach life? Like, this is just, all of this is so hard. I just have so many questions for you, like, in terms of like, how do you approach how does Barre3 approach grind culture and burnout? And then also just life-wise, like, how do you stay mindful in your work when you're a busy executive? How do you do all that?
Well, it's a practice, and whatever we practice, we become. And again, back to the not past shaming or future shaming, it's being honest in the moment. And then with intention, asking myself and ourselves over and over again, what do I need right now? What is best for me right now? And then proceed with purpose, right? I do want to address burnout culture because I've been fascinated with this whole quiet quitting phenomenon, like it's media story around it. And I have a counterpoint of view to it. And it's actually inspired by an article I read in New York Times, which I can get to you if you want to put in your notes or something. But around this idea that, like, first of all, I think people are shell-shocked and at home, and we've practiced being at home and alone, and so our brains want to be at home, right? But I truly believe our souls need to connect. Our souls need to engage. And Malcolm Gladwell just said that, actually. I got that right from him. Our brains want to be alone at home. Our souls need to go to work. Our souls need to be together, right? And so we're in this really interesting thing. The quiet quitting thing is we are all, especially our audience, we are fatigued working women, young women, moms, we are tired. We have done a lot. And it's intoxicating to kind of quit, to just be like, well, I want to scale back. I want to retreat. And for a moment, I think that's a good thing. But what's interesting, what this woman said is she said, the way to conquer burnout is absolutely not to scale back. The way to conquer burnout is to plug in and engage. Engage. That will get you out of burnout. And I just spoke to all of our owners company-wide at our summit, and we talked about this because, we're in tears. It's tired. We are, it's next level, right? And we just have to have this, I think now we need to have this social network of people that encourages us to get out of our homes and to go plug back into our bodies and ourselves. And as women, we're kind of often conditioned to be the last ones to do that for ourselves. We're taking care of everybody else in our careers and our professions and blah, 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 and kids and all the things. And so, that's what we're addressing right now with our team, with our instructors, but also how can we as an organization be more compelling for the burnout young woman or woman, and then we're really passionate about that. And we're asking ourselves questions about that. Like, how do we listen to her? How do we make this program something that she must come back to so she can remember how important this is?
Well, two questions about engaging. One is just really simple, is online. Like, does online engagement count? Or do you think you really need to get out in the community?
Yes, it does. And working from home is a good thing to do sometimes. And it's like we can't be binary about it. It's both and. What's wonderful about an online workout is that it truly meets you where you are. I know on my days when I do need to be more introspective or introverted, an online workout is really great. Of course, when I travel, when I'm really busy and I can't fit in the studio workout, it's like I'm still getting strong in my body. I'm still taking that time and that practice for myself, combined with maybe a long walk with my dogs. There's a reason for online workouts. There's also a reason for being in person. The neuroscience is clear. When we're together, moving to music in a group, we fight lonely and we build a sense of trust in ourselves and in other people and community and a sense of belonging. And we're in an epidemic right now of loneliness. And I don't think a lot of people would say they're lonely. It's like, oh, I have friends. I have lots of people, but ask yourself if you feel alone. Like a lot of us do right now. And that when we get together, we break that feeling. And that's much harder to do at home, alone in front of a screen.
So, and then also speaking about engagement, I was fascinated to learn a while ago. So I don't know if you still do this because COVID, messes things up. But I was fascinated to learn that you still taught in person at, I think, the flagship studio. Are you still planning on doing that? And what was your reason for doing that?
Oh, gosh, yeah. No, I'm a teacher. I love teaching Barre3. It's my favorite thing to do. I balance it. I integrate it into my life. It was when I first opened, I was teaching 19 classes a week. It's all I did. That was not recommended, folks, not recommended. That's too much. My body was like, no bueno. But and now I have a different career. I have a different level and I'm in a different life stage. So I don't teach as much, but yeah, no, it's definitely my craft. It's my joy. It's my love. I'm very, central to the product of Barre3.
So then how do you just mentioned balance somewhere and I just wrote that down. So what I think we're all just overwhelmed. It's like, how do we, okay, there's just so much here because there's the balance and it's just the simple question of how do you balance, right? But no, because the whole thing is when you're talking about mindfulness and you're talking about it in a different way, okay, than I've really heard, which your mindfulness is letting go of the past and the future, which is actually very freeing and can allow for creativity. And I was literally just talking to someone about creating guardrails that allow for creativity. So rules and systems. But now I know, but I'm like, I don't get it because because we have to plan in marketing. So like, what do you do? Do you plan ahead or not? Because literally it's not a problem to say you don't. I had a client, like lived on a commune. But I asked him once, well, what is the marketing budget? And he said, because it's like, I need to like know what I'm working with here. I can't just buy some ads willy-nilly. And he just said, we don't have a budget. And I was blown away. I mean, I was new in my career. It's like, what? And then I start to think, yeah, I mean, things change. You don't need to be stuck in things and this, that, and the other. But anyway, that was just a long, rambling question.
Now, first of all, the definition of balance. So balance, you can look at it as balancing your budget. You can look at it as balancing your energy, your resources, right? My favorite definition of balance comes from my friend Don Dapani, who is a mindful expert. And he said, Sadie, the definition of balance is managing your energy proportionate to the people and things who matter most. Managing your energy proportionate to the people and things who matter most. And he says, you know, energy is finite. Our lives are finite, right? And every day is finite. There's only so much energy in a day. And so whether you're managing your marketing budget proportionate to what matters most, you know, first of all, you need to know what matters most. So you have to have the insights to direct the marketing budget so that you're spending those dollars wisely, right? It's again, a practice. It's like managing your energy, your money, your budget, your life proportionate to what you know matters most. And that can change over time, but I think that it really is a discipline and a practice. We are very strategic at Barre3. We do not fly by the seat of our pants. We can't afford to. We've grown on cash flow. We have no outside investment. And so, you know, and the thing with creativity, if I may, on that front, all artists know that you're the most creative with constraints, within constraints.
Thank you.
Yeah. When you have clear constraints, like think of a sandbox, it has clear, you know, 4 walls, and then it has the sand inside it. If you didn't have that, you wouldn't have a sandbox for the kids to create within. And then they go bananas in that sandbox, right? So I think I always, we've been under tremendous constraints as an organization for the last 2 years. I mean, we had all our studio doors shut. And guess what happened? We got creative.
With the online, but yeah. So then how do you, because this is so hard. How do you say no? Like, first of all, like multiple questions with saying no. I'm worried about saying no, just to be honest, when I am thinking about how to engage. So then, and I have kind of some examples of what I say yes to, but how do you personally say no, Sadie? And then what do you say no to?
Oh gosh. I say no to energy vampires. I say no to people who at the end of exchange consistently, I feel depleted at the end of it. So I just say no to, avoid. And so that I have more energy for the people who it's this mutual beneficial relationship where I leave feeling, you know, enriched and refreshed. So I can be a better person as I move on to the next person and the next thing I'm doing. I say no to things at work that aren't within our guiding principles. We have a sandbox at work that are very clearly thought out, that are the foundation to when we say yes to things, everything's easier because of those things, right? And I think that's really clear to know what your guiding principles are, like the things that are non-negotiable. And then the other things you add in, if they compromise your non-negotiables, then they're out. They're a no. The things that uplift your non-negotiables, they're a hell yes. Bring it in. The things that are like questionable, you test, you check it out. And then it's like, yeah, maybe, but I think that's true for life. And I think it's true for business. And things like our non-negotiables, just to give you an example at Barre3, are our purpose, a distilled articulation of our reason for being, vision, mission, values. That always, everything has to ladder up to that. That's a non-negotiable. I will say no to photoshopping because it does not ladder up to our vision, mission, and values, right? That's an easy, hard no. Foundation first, which is always focus on that one thing. If we didn't have it within our organization, we wouldn't be viable. It's teaching the Barre3 signature class. So everything has to uplift the signature class. Enlightened
Mm.
hospitality, how we take care of each other. That's a non-negotiable because we are a service-based business. We believe relationships matter even more than exercise, right? What we call thoughtful beauty, which is a designed experience. I want things to be elevated for people. I believe in that. Workplace awesomeness. That's our last one. That's this idea of we're an attractive place to work, that people want to work with us, for us, because, you know, and all those things kind of work as an ecosystem for us. And because we're so clear on those 5 things, it's really easy to say no to things that don't fit in.
Okay. Yeah, that totally helps. Yeah. So my yes right now is, and it doesn't help my business, you would think, but maybe it does, is saying yes to college people who want to talk to me or going to colleges to speak. Because it's just happening now that some colleges are giving them my book and now they want to talk to me. So it's easy for me to say yes because I like it. I like them. And what I have said no to, and I felt very powerful and strong, and I bragged to my employee about it just to kind of uplift the women, is I met with this person on Zoom and he just felt really kind of aggressive. And there were some questions that were continuously asked, and I just kept saying the answer, and which wasn't the best. It wasn't the answer he wanted. And I thought I trained him well about that. And then it was the end of the conversation. He said, yeah, well, send me your cost. And then how many stories you think you can get. And it's like, I can't promise stories, right? So then that was that. Like, that was the last straw. And I didn't say anything then. I thought about it. But then I just backed out. Saying no to aggression feels powerful, especially for women who work in service industry. And then we're service providers as PR people. Even if you're in-house, you are providing for other people. That's all you do because you're uplifting others as a PR person. And so we do have this issue that a lot of women face of helping everybody, and feeling bad. This whole thing about feeling bad.
There's so many people in the universe. There's so many, if you have a skill or a profession, there's so many ways you can use that. Why not use it in a way that also fulfills you and makes you feel good? You say no to that, gentleman, open your door to say yes to other people, right? You can only see so many, again, energy is finite. You can only have so many relationships. And every time I say no to someone, it's also a good thing for them too, because I know this for a fact and I think about it with team members, like the team member that I sort of convinced myself to keep or to hire, was usually the one that blew out and was disenchanted and didn't enjoy their career anyways with us. It wasn't a good fit for either of us. So, I think, that's a thing. If any young listener here, if I could go back and talk to my young college self, it's like, Sadie, honor yourself, honor your instinct, and only say yes to jobs where you know you will be seen and heard and valued, or at least really are committed to the value set there, that you see yourself in that. You don't have to shape or mold yourself to be something you aren't, because there's plenty out there and there's something for you that's authentically aligned with you. And have that be your North Star. Because I spent so much time trying to shape myself into something I wasn't. And it was just like a huge waste of time, right?
Yeah. And a lot of us do that when we're young because we just don't know. And we're trying to be something that we don't know what we're trying to be even.
Right.
Which is part
of growing up.
Yeah. And it's very fascinating that you literally just answered my last question, which was the main tip you'd give yourself way back when you were starting your career, which is, I guess, to honor yourself.
Yeah. And I don't know if you can even do that, right? I feel like that's magic, because the way I got to that wisdom was going through all the things, like having the job where I didn't feel valued and trying to push myself into a different shape than I really was is what led me to Barre3. So I think the other side of that coin is, and trust the process, trust yourself, learn every day, reflect with honesty and compassion about the ups and the downs, because they each have equal purpose in your kind of life plan. At least they have for me. Like, my hardest times have had just as much purpose in my life and who I am as my most elevated, like, winning times. And, I think the art of learning to appreciate both of those extremes, is really, really, it's really helping me, at least these days. I wish I knew that earlier.
Well, last question to end, before you tell us, how we can follow you and all that, is just kind of a seemingly simple question. How is Barre3 different from the other barre studios? Because you see some out there, and I don't even know how. I mean, I think I know how it's different, but how would you say you're different?
Well, I think the main technical difference is that the 3 in Barre3 stands for, we do strength, cardio, and mindfulness. And we have a unique way of pulling that together in a 60 or 45-minute class in our studios. We do use a ballet bar as a prop, as other barre programs do. But we're really committed to those 3 things. So you get an efficient, effective workout. And the way we teach the class is highly differentiated, in that we teach in a way that you can modify. You're invited to, and in fact, you watch everybody else doing it, so you feel really safe doing it. You modify the workout real time so that it meets you exactly where you are in the moment. And so you leave the class saying, that workout was me. That was for me. That wasn't me trying to be something I'm not. And because of that, I love it. And I want to come back. Like, that's our whole, that's our whole shtick.
Yeah. And so how can people find you if they're interested either in checking out Barre3 or just following you as a businesswoman?
Sure. Well, all the, usual places on social media, Instagram, Facebook,
we'll share all that, I guess. Yeah. And anything
anybody's on Facebook.
I know. Well, I'm like, why? Some people ask me that. It's like, I don't remember my, handle. So I don't know, but we'll share that. And then is there anything about Barre3 that we should know in terms of something coming up? And if you don't know off the top of your head, we'll add it in our blog post that we'll send out that goes up with the interview.
Yeah, well, it's barre3.com, BARRE3.com. And first class is on us. So if you want to come give us a go, we'd love to see you in the studio. We also have online streaming classes. We have like 4 to 5 new workouts a week, really amazing online presence. And we really do cater to, we have 18-year-olds working out next to 70-year-olds. It really is a wide variety of ages and people and experiences, all kind of unified around this desire to feel really powerful and good in our bodies as we exercise. So if that is interesting to you, then, we would love for anybody to come and join our community.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you, Sadie, so much. It was just an honor to hear your story and just see how different you're approaching your communications.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening. For more PR insight, be sure to check out Amy's book, A Modern Guide to Public Relations, at prtalk.co. Also, please subscribe, rate, or leave us a review.